Welcome back. The last video I showed you how to interact with the controller. In this video, we are going to start building the actual REST API. So I will start by going to the repository and I will create a file. This will be an interface. I will call it account repository. This is an interface, and this interface will extend JPA repository. So it extends JPA repository. So as I told you, JPA repository provides some inbuilt methods that we can use to connect with the data, to interact and manipulate the database. So we are going to see these inbuilt methods. So JPA repository, and this takes two parameters. The first one is the name of our entity class. So in this case, we are dealing with accounts entity class. So I will put account. The other parameter that it takes is the primary key. Our primary key account ID is of type integer. So I'm going to put the primary key type as integer. And then I'm going to annotate it with at repository. And I am done with this. So the next thing is this one contains some method. If I go to JPA repository, if I click on this JPA repository, here you can see there are several methods. There is save and flash, there is save all and flash, there is delete in bunch, delete all in bunch, so and so on. There is find all, and this one also, the public interface JPA repository extend list CRUD repository. There is this list CRUD repository that has got some method like find all by ID. It also extend list pagination and sorting repository. This will have some method like find all. What else does it extend? It extends those two. So in this case, if we go to JPA repository, this JPA repository, that this list CRUD repository have save all, you have find all, and this one also extends CRUD repository. So CRUD repository has got some methods that we are going to use. We are going to use save. This will save an entity into the database. You have save all, and you have find by ID. This finds by the primary key or by the ID. Exist by ID. These are Boolean. Then there is find all by ID, there is count, there is delete by ID, there is delete. All these methods, we are going to call them directly into our service class without the need for us to write some complex SQL queries. So in this case, let us go back to our service class. So let me go back to my service class and I will say new Java class. I will create an account service. So this account service, I will annotate this with at service. So the very first thing that I will do here is to do dependency injection for controller. So I told you there are three types of dependency injection. We can use at AutoWired to inject the controller here, the repository, I mean account repository here, account repository. So this at AutoWired, we'll do the dependency injection. However, this one is not recommended. This is called field injection. This is called field injection. It is not recommended. You see, what is recommended? Field injection is not recommended. So that is why I don't like field injection. I like constructor injection, private final accounts repository. So this will allow me to add constructor parameter, and this is called constructor injection. This is the most recommended way, and this is what I will go by in this tutorial. So now now that I have done dependency injection for my controller, I will create a method. So private public account, it will return an object called account because we are creating an account. It will return an account. Recall the method create account. So this method will have a body. So I will define account here. So I will say account. Let me expand this account. So the very first thing that I will do is I will start by defining a value for time. Remember, these are the fields that we are dealing with. We are dealing with account ID. This will be automatically generated, and this should be automatically created at. So I will come and say account dot set created at, say, local date time dot now. Local date time dot now. Local date time dot now. And then let me import this. Then I will save. I will call account repository. I will create a variable to hold the result. I will create a variable saved result. Saved result is equals to account repository dot save. This save method will save whatever the account we have created on the database. Now assume this requires a return type of type account. So I will return saved result. This is the miracle or the magic behind JPA. Without the JPA repository, I could maybe have written some SQL and say insert into table name, then I defines the columns, then I come and I say values, I define the values for those columns. But you see now, JPA is doing all those for you. So this is all I need for saving into the database. So I will go inside my controller, define a post mapping, say at post mapping, I will map it / accounts. It is best practice to use plurals when naming your resource. Best practice. So I will create a method public account create account. Inside here I will create a variable called at request body. This allows us to put our request in the Postman body section. Account. So this is the request body. Now this account, I will import this class. Remember, we can also decide, instead of using entity class directory, use some wrapper classes to create a request object. But for the case of this tutorial, I don't want to make it complex, so I will do some constructor injection. I will inject our controller, rather our service here. I told you the controller calls the service calls the repository. So receive private final account service. So let me inject it. So I will say return account service dot. So this account service has not yet been. So account service dot create. So let me import this. Then call the method inside the account service dot create account. I will pass this account. Then my postman collection will expose this endpoint. So I want to create add constructor parameter. So it is good to put in mind that the most recommended way of dependency injection is constructor injection. So now, having done that, I will go to my postman collection and create this request. Add all these fields apart from created and account ID. Since this is automatically generated, this is also automatically generated. So account number. So inside here, I will say API v1 account. And remember, these are post request. And a post request, there is a request body. There is request body here. This is let me go back there and post one. So select row, then JSON, then construct my JSON here. So the first property I will add in my JSON is account number. The other property is account holder name. The other property is balance. The other property is account type. So now let me supply the values to it. Account number. Let me pass account number 02-101-00. Account name, I will say Albert Smith. Then for balance, I will start with 1500 USD, and account type, I will call this regular account. So, and I will click on send request. API/v1/account/send. So this not found, no static API v1 account. You see now, you need to know why that is happening. These accounts have not been mapped. It has not been mapped. So I need to restart my service. I don't know why my dev tools is not working. but we have this time round we have to create an account into the database. v1 API v1/account. So my code is running. Path API/v1/accounts. Sometimes it is also good to check if there are typos in the path. There is no typo. Let me first of all save this, beautify this. Let me go back. So my application is running. So this time round I am very sure that this API endpoint is there. The change that I have made will be picked automatically. So Java is not hard, Spring Boot is not hard. You build some application, some production ready application. At the course of this video, I'll show you how to make your application production ready, because I want to share some knowledge with you, helpful knowledge that will help you in your industry as a software engineer, as a software developer, as a freelance, or as a founder. This course can be taken by anybody who has got interest with software engineering. So the Hikari pool has started, JPA. So you can see it has initialized JPA entity manager factory library tools. Tomcat has started on port 8080. I will now go and make request. Make that request. Completed initialization. So you can see that this request has gone successfully. Let me check the DB whether there is something that has been created. So I will say select all from account. First of all, I will need to select the database I am interacting with. Let me go back at the top there and say use banking underscore DB. So I will execute this and also execute this. Select all, so you can see select all from account. So banking DB expense tracker.account does not exist. Why is this using expense tracker? Select all from account. So you can see there is one record. So however, one problem that we shall have to is that for example, in this case I have been able to open an account for Albert for 101 Albert Smith, and the balance is 1500 and the account is regular. You can see that the created date and the account ID have been generated automatically. One problem that we will face is creation of duplicate account. For example, I have Albert Smith with account number 101, but at the same time, I can create another duplicate account. Our application allow us to create another duplicate account. So if we go to the database, you will see that we have two duplicate records. See, duplicate records, repeated record, duplicate records. So as part of building real-time application, we need to handle those as exceptions, that you cannot be able to create a duplicate account. That account holder name is already taken. That account number is already taken. So we are going to tackle that in the next video. Bye.